The following donors financially support P.A.M. Media Outreach, Our Views podcast. The P.A.M. Group, Noisy Trumpet, Fox 29, Fran Yanity, Freetail Brewing Company.
P.A.M. Media Outreach. Come and tune in with me and listen to the youth speak. We all just wanna be heard. Some feeling undeserved. Empower the next youth leader. Yeah. P.A.M. Media Outreach. Media Outreach. Yeah. P.A.M. Media Outreach. Tune in with our views. Yeah.
Hi, I'm your host KaMari Armstrong, a senior at Marque High School and from Lamarck, Texas. I'm here today with P.A.M. Media Outreach, Our Views podcast. Today, I want to introduce you to Law Enforcement Major Kevin Walker of the Galveston County Sheriff's Office.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you so much, Major Walker, for joining us. I want to discuss some topics on law enforcement and some of the processes with you today, which are usually not spoken about in our inner city and urban communities. We want to talk about prevention, the crime in our inner city communities, sex trafficking, and safety for our schools. My peers and I have come up with some questions and concerns to speak with you about today. My first question is, what crimes do you see the most in our inner city communities?
Well, in today's inner city communities, the crimes I see the most today is assaults and drug cases.
What is your take on helping prevent crime?
My take on helping prevent crime is educating the citizens, the youth, the adults, all of us joining together to help prevent crime, to get the community involved in reporting crime. Today's community, some are scared to speak out, and they have a right to be. But I think once we all get on board and begin to work together and crime is reported in a timely manner, it would help begin to reduce crime.
Can educational programs help prevent crime?
Most definitely, most definitely. And the reason being because there's always new crime. So just when you think you've seen it all, the criminals come up with something different. And unfortunately, as far as law enforcement, it's always going to be a learning curve for us because a criminal mind is an idle mind, and they have time to think of criminal activity. So as we continue to educate, we'll be able to keep up with today's current crime trend.
With the current crime trend, do you think there should be more police officers? Most
definitely, it should be more police officers on the streets. The challenge is getting finding people who wants to get involved in law enforcement. The numbers are low as far as police academy turnouts. The police academy turnouts used to be 25 to 30, and now they're down to 10 to 15 people. So it's pretty much cut in half. But if we could find more people, more citizens who wants to get involved and get involved in law enforcement, careers in law enforcement, that would help tremendously.
Should there be stiffer prison sentences for those who commit crimes?
Yes, it should. The issue is with that comes with staffing, because if they are stiffer sentencing, it takes staff to oversee the prisons and in the time span of the sentencing. So.
What are you doing to keep us safe in our school community to avoid what happened in Uvalde?
So one of the things that I do, I've always done. My mom, who actually lives across the street from Marque High School, I continue to keep her on the levels of see something, say something. Her and her friends, just me, what I do personally. I also try to recruit qualified applicants to come out and work in the schools, work on patrol. And I actually, when time permits, I actually drive around the schools myself.
Why are there more crimes in our community?
Crimes are sometimes start with economy-based. When people not able to keep up with a lifestyle or a certain lifestyle, or a lot of times they turn to crime. And in their minds, it's easier to do. And it's more challenging for them to go out and do the right thing for themselves and their family, so they find it easier to turn to crime.
Do you think youth programs will help children not turn to crime?
Most definitely. Will it help everyone? Probably not, but will it help some? It most definitely will.
What are your opinions on sex trafficking?
It's saddened. Sex trafficking has been around for years. I'm happy that there's more light shined on it to combat it, but as we shine more light on it, we are finding more and more cases of sex trafficking.
How often do you get calls about sex trafficking?
Not too often. We normally get calls on another crime-related deal that once we begin to investigate it, we find sex trafficking is involved.
Do you see a lot of sex trafficking cases in our community, and what should be done if we are aware of it in our community?
We don't see a lot, but we are seeing it growing. If anyone sees it in the community, they should report it. Even if they suspect some type of sex trafficking, it should be reported.
So what do you think are ways that we can look out for, to avoid being in situations like that?
Number one, we probably go back to the old stranger danger. Most of the time, sex trafficking starts when someone's approached from a stranger who's making certain promises, and we don't know that person, let alone if the promises are genuine or not. Those things like that, and just basically keeping your ear to the street. I mean, if you have a friend or know someone that's involved with someone they probably shouldn't, sometimes that turn into sex trafficking.
What do you think makes the relationship between law enforcement officers and urban communities so complex?
Social media. A lot of times on social media, videos are only shown at a 40% rate. The videos are shown in law enforcement responses, but they're not. Video doesn't show the entirety. It's not played. I feel like that sometimes law enforcement is stereotyped. I myself have experienced stereotype in my own community, in others' community. I think communities, we should go back to giving law enforcement chances individually. Can you trust everyone? Of course not. But we have to get away from finding every law enforcement officer guilty of something that they didn't do.
So with being a law enforcement officer and with also being a black male, do you understand like the complexities of the relationship, and how do you as an officer like process that in your mind, but also as a black man as well?
So as a black male, as a black officer, as a ranking black officer, I've experienced it from my childhood, from my teenage life, from my high school life, from in my professional career. I just have to be mindful that people are they're gonna judge you regardless until you show them different. It's very, very unfortunate. It can be challenging at times. It also can be even more challenging when I experienced that from my own race.
Yes. So you are stereotyped in your own community?
Yes, ma'am, I am, most definitely.
So the relationship goes both ways between, it's interesting to see your point of view from that,
yes.
So.
Just a couple of questions that I would like to give you an opportunity to ask. What do you have in plan as far as graduating and giving back to the community?
Well, I want to go to Howard University in Washington, D.C., and I plan on being there for a while. I'm not going to lie. I understand I'm going to be on my own journey, so I want to take my time and, really make sure that everything is, all right with me. And then I do plan on coming back and hopefully helping I really want to help the kids of our community. I feel like everybody's always so focused on rebuilding this and putting this up and repainting this, but nobody's really focusing on the people who have to grow up in these communities. So I want to come back and I want to really work with the kids. That's my biggest focus. I feel like if I'm able to do everything that I can in my life, I feel like my purpose is to, come and give back, so.
Do you have any suggestions or ideas that you think that law enforcement can do better to better repair the relationship with the community?
Just things like this, having an open, honest dialogue between, someone who's a representative of each community, you being law enforcement, me, the youth. I feel like things like this are important because, as the youth, we do often see the police in such a different light, in an unflattering light, but it is important to also see people like you, who are law enforcement officers, but also a good person, a good man, someone we can trust and really know is going to be there for us to help us.
Thank you.
No problem. Major Walker, thank you so much for joining me today to talk and hear our voices and see our youth views in the inner city and urban communities. Maybe this dialogue will help in giving a positive message to our law enforcement officers. Once again, my name is KaMari Armstrong with P.A.M. Media Outreach, Our Views podcast. Thank you for joining me today.
P.A.M. Media Outreach. Come and tune in with me and listen to the youth speak. We all just wanna be heard. Some feeling undeserved. Empower the next youth leader. Yeah. P.A.M. Media Outreach. Media Outreach. Yeah. P.A.M. Media Outreach. Tune in with our views. Yeah.
We want to thank our sponsors for their continuous support of our youth leaders. The P.A.M. Group, Noisy Trumpet, Fox 29, Fran Yanity, Freetail Brewing Company, Frost Bank, M.K. Davis Restaurant.
P.A.M. Media Outreach. Come and tune in with me and listen to the youth speak. We all just wanna be heard. Some feeling undeserved. Empower the next